Hello. Do you like scary movies? Welcome back to Scream 5. You're watching Andrew's film reviews, and I have my newest review for you yet. Scream 5 2022. My reactions, my first reactions to the trailer, and my overall reactions after watching the trailer a couple of times later. Let's start with, for those who haven't seen it yet, it opens with a girl victim. It starts out at the front, camera pans on a house in Woodsboro. A girl has a text message from a friend, so-called friend, who ends up being someone else, and not actually who that person she thinks it is, texting her. And then she gets the landline. The killer calls the landline. She answers, and he says, "Do you like games, Tara? Do you like to play games, Tara?" He says to her, and this character's name's Tara. I think a southern way of pronouncing Tara. And the opening of the trailer kicks off more where she goes to answer the door, and the killer is standing right there ready to slash her, which he or she does inside the Ghostface mask. And then she closes the door. She has an injury, and then the door alarms, her Google Home system, and with the door alarms, she's trying to turn them on, where the killer's trying to turn them off. He's hijacked her Google Home system by her phone. And the door locks keep unlocking and locking and locking, and the camera pans away from the door. She's moving away from the door up to the back wall, where in the distance you see a staircase, and then behind her there's darkness, and then he lunges out and makes his opening attack. And then the end of that, what you see is she's on the floor with her gash, and she's being pulled back by the killer, and that's all you see. And then it says, coming up next year. Then the trailer comes up to a phone call to Sidney Prescott via Dewey Riley. He says, and he responds, "It's been 3 victims. Do you have a gun?" And she says, "I'm Sidney Prescott. Of course I have a gun." So, and then next parts of the trailer, we go with you see a group of them together. Sidney Prescott's approaching this other younger girl, who I have a feeling is the sister to the victim in the beginning of the trailer. And she says, "I've been through this many times." And the girl who she approaches says, "I know I recognize you." And then Sidney responds with, "I've been through this many times before." And then you see group imagery with them all sitting inside a house on the lounge, talking about slasher movies and the rules of slasher movies. And you see there's another moment there in the trailer where you see Stu's house from the very first Scream, at the climax of the original Scream movie, where the killings played out. And you see a girl standing in the doorway, and the camera pans right back away from the house. And so we know Stu's house is going to be in this movie. And what's the relation to Stu in this film, we wonder now. And it makes you wonder along the family line who's linked to him, why they're using his house. But they are back in Woodsboro in California, where these killings originally took place in 1996. And the killer has brought them all back together brought them all together to face something from the past. See, the killer in the trailer, they establish the killings are the victims of the killings are linked to the killer's past movies of the killers. They're linked to the killers somehow, or the killer's victims. So that's what I gather. I gather more they're linked to the killers somehow, these victims in this one, from what they say in the trailer. David Arquette's character, Dewey Riley, says this, and there's a scene where they're all there's a scene with Gail Weathers and Sydney, and they open up a box that has a gun in it, and she says, "Are you ready?" And she says, "Never." The Courtney Cox's character, Gail Weathers, reveals to Sydney, and then you see them also in the trailer. You see them going up together towards a house. Sydney pointing a gun, and you see Dewey in a hospital. He's emptying bullets while walking down the corridor of his gun. He's emptying the bullets of his gun while walking down the hospital corridor, and then you see the killer attacking him. A next shot. And then you see all these other new faces, these other new victims, and killers to be, and I'm very excited. I love the opening. I love the opening of this trailer most of all, and I love how they have Stu's house in it from the original. I love how they got the all the different moments like that in the trailer. What I didn't like per se, what I first thought I didn't like, but maybe I sort of reconsidered a little bit, that I kind of like, kind of falls in the dislike category, half and half, where Sidney Prescott says, "I'm Sidney Prescott, of course I have a gun." But I like that, but I thought that was just like the way it was like a playing on the franchise of, I don't know, where you sort of, it's like we know like the characters are coming back, but I thought she could have opened with a bit of a different kind of line in the trailer. And like where she was in the trailer, you have no idea. They're normal, everyday suburban lives, what they're doing, and city lives. It looked like she was like working out or something, and she was walking down the street when in the trailer. And you see, and there's this other part of the trailer where you see Ghostface image on this brick wall, this like apartment block with the staircase, and it's just like dark of night, and you just see him you see him opening his like arms with like a knife out, and what you assume, and then it's all projected onto this brick wall, and this staircase brick wall of this apartment block, and it's very it looks very awesome. I'm very keen on this new one. I'm very excited. I'm wondering if they're going to have a lot of references back to the original Scream. I'm also hoping that they will. I'm hoping that there is a big twist in there. Like there's speculation. What if Dewey's the killer? What if he has been masterminding the whole thing, and he's been egging Sydney on the whole time, and he's craving these times when the killer comes back? He wants this to happen. That's what I got the idea of from the trailer too. But this is just speculation. So this is what I like, what my thoughts, feels. I think there is also a scene there with the police cop woman, Deputy Hicks, return from Scream 4. She's traveling down a roadway in Woodsboro in her police car, and she's sort of screaming. It looked very gripping. It looked like there was like a big, like intense, dramatic moment, like in the midst of, or about to happen, or was happening. But it's very interesting. It's very. I think I'm really hoping that there'll be a lot of ties to the originality, and bringing back what the fans love of the originals and combining them with the new, just like Scream 4. And this is a direct sequel to Scream 4, the first film in the franchise not to be directed by Wes Craven, who sadly passed in 2015, 4 years after he made Scream 4 in 2011. And the new directors sound good, and they also directed movies like Ready or Not. And they've been hyped up to sound very much like Scream fanatics, and I like the sound of that, where they're going. And they're going to bring a bit of a splice of a new film in the mix of what we know and love into the legacy. So I think we're in for a treat. We're in for uncertainty. We are in for good stuff happening with this new Scream. I know I realised Scream 4 bombed at the box office, and Scream 3 was my least favourite of the franchise, but it was I think that kind of went off because Kevin Williamson couldn't return, and there was some casting complications. So it was either him or Neve Campbell returning to the franchise of number 3 in 2000. So it was either one of them or nothing at all. So they ended up having Neve Campbell coming back reprising Sidney Prescott, but Kevin Williamson being on the sidelines on this one. But Kevin Williamson is sitting in the executive producer's seat of the new Scream 5 2022,